There we go. Hello and good morning. I'm excited to welcome you to today's virtual training session. A special thank you to our presenter, Frederick, for generously sharing his expertise with us. Today's training plays a critical role in furthering the mission of the nonprofit Connection by building the capability and capacity of the nonprofits that you work for. This session will provide you with knowledge and tools to be more confident in your grant research using Candid. By participating in this session, you are investing in your personal development and also contributing to the impact of your organization. The knowledge that you acquire today will enhance the capability and capacity, fostering a stronger and more impactful nonprofit sector. So let's make the most of this opportunity to learn and collaborate. And as he is going through this Candid training, please feel free to either raise your hand, jump in, or put your questions in the chat. And I believe there will also be a little bit of time at the end to ask some questions. So thank you so much for being part of this initiative. And I hope that you find value and insight through this experience. We'll go ahead and turn it over to Frederick. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Abby, for that awesome introduction. Welcome, everyone. Let's see. I'm going to get started. Let's see if I can hit present on this thing. Feels like a Monday, so I'm trying to get used to the technology aspect of it. So let's see. All right. Screen, this one. Okay. Can someone unmute and let me know if you guys can see, or just give me a thumbs up if you guys can see my screen?
We can see.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, well, welcome everyone. I'm hoping that I am able to at least shed some light on Candid and what it is and how it came about, just a little bit of background on that. So let me know if you, like Abby said, if you have any questions, feel free to jot them down in the comment section or just virtually raise your hand and then we will get to them. If for any reason we are unable to answer your questions at the end of this training, then we can always circle back. And if you can provide us with an email, we will always reach back out and give you that information that way. So let's get started. Let's see. Okay, so in this training, like Abby mentioned, it's just going to be a 1-hour Zoom training. So it's going to be a brief on a lot of the things that Candid has to offer. We are going to, I'm going to be giving you a couple of fun facts that you might know or not know about Zeta Haas and some nonprofits. And then also, we're going to be navigating through the resources on Candid. So hopefully we can spend the majority of our time navigating through this tool. And then towards the end, if you have any questions and we can provide some answers, then we'll be peachy. All right, so what is Candid? Candid was formed through the merger of the Foundation Center and GuideStar in 2019. So if you are familiar with, a lot of you might be familiar with GuideStar. So the Foundation Center, the GuideStar, they combined to create Candid, and this is the result. And the organization is, of course, known for its work in collecting and providing those data points for a lot of the nonprofits, the foundations, and the grants that we have today. They offer a lot of the tools and services that help individuals such as yourselves, other nonprofits, grant makers, to make informed decisions about the philanthropy, right? And I'm sure that if you are joining this call, that is your main point, is trying to see what you can do to further your success with the culture of philanthropy. So the first fun facts. So the first one is, according to the National Center for Charitable Statistics, there are more than 1.8 million nonprofit organizations. that's just a lot of people in organizations doing good, right? So I think we can say that every quarter might have a nonprofit. And then according to the Utah Nonprofit Association, there are over 10,000 nonprofit here in just our backyard, pretty much, right? So whether that's a private organization, a public or foundation, and everything in between, we've got them. So United Way of Northern Utah, right? So United Way of Northern Utah started an initiative to create the Zeta Haas Center. And by creating this Grand Center, they gave access to a lot of our local nonprofits to navigate these tools, of course, to support their philanthropic goals. So that was one of the major reasons why we created this, and we want to teach you guys to be able to use it and navigate through it. That way you can meet those expectations for your nonprofit. So Zeta Haas Grant Center, it's located here in United Way. We have a desk, it's a little center corner in our resource development office. However, if everything goes well, it will be moving downstairs to a different location. And Abby, you might have a little bit more of an insight on that one. And if you want to share that, please feel free to do so. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, we are in the middle of a capital campaign to renovate a portion of our basement. And in that renovation process, we will be expanding our grant research center so that it'll have 2 desk spaces, a printing center, and it'll be a lot more comfortable and accessible to all the nonprofits in our area.
Awesome. Thanks, Abby. Absolutely. So the Grant Center was founded in 2010. So that's been a couple of years ago by Zeta Haas. And fun fact, right? Another one. Zeta Haas was a highly esteemed woman in Ogden. She started the Community Schools Initiative in Ogden and retired as the first Ogden City School Director in 1987. And she was a community leader that, much like all of you here, is driven by a passion to help people not only to find the resources of becoming successful, but also being able to fund a lot of your projects, your capital campaigns, XYZ. And in Utah, there are over 10,000 nonprofits. Of course, like I mentioned, 78% of those nonprofits have a budget less than $100,000 per year. That means that most nonprofits are relatively small. And according to the Volunteer Match, there are over 100 nonprofit organizations near Ogden. That means that we are doing good in a lot of our communities locally, and it shows by you guys even being here today. And then 43.8 of Utah residents volunteer, which means that it ranks Utah's first among the 50 states and Washington, D.C. So that's pretty remarkable. A lot of our volunteers are out here helping our cause. So now what's Candid, right? So let's talk a little bit more about Candid. So every year, millions of nonprofits spend trillions of dollars around the world. Candid finds out where that money is coming from, where it's going, and why it matters. Candid gets you the information that you need to do good in your community. And we're going to be exploring quite a bit of that right now. We're going to navigate through it. So I'm going to be sharing my screen. That way you guys can see as I'm clicking on things. And then towards the end, we will provide you with an email in which you can sign up for a designated space and time that works for you. That way you can come and navigate it through yourself. I know that at least for me, I have to do it on my own before I actually grasp it and before I actually learn it. And, you know, I have to play with something before I move forward in my experiences. So let's do it. Let's take a look into the foundation directory. Okay. Oh yes. Okay. Good. My link worked. It wasn't working before, but it would work now. Okay. So this is the platform Candid. This is the foundation directory. This is where you will be doing a lot of the researching, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. So here, if you can see, it gives you, Candid is very user-friendly, at least in my opinion, because I've seen other interfaces where they are a lot more complex and difficult to navigate, but Candid is actually very user-friendly, and at least I like to think so. But here, you have a search button, just like any other normal one would. It says, the example it gives you here, it says ballet schools in New York City. So that's what you can type in. If you're looking for a particular project that you want to fund, let's say you work in after school, or you are trying to renovate your building, or you have a sports program that you want to continue funding, right? Because sustainability is a big portion of maintaining those grant funds and furthering your mission. This is where you're going to want to search. And if you can see here, it says include US federal funders. So let's navigate through this search button first. So I'm going to click here on the advanced search and filters. And let's say, just for today's training, let's say that I want to search an area on education. Here, you can see that we have agriculture, fishing, and forestry. We can see that we have arts and culture, community and economic development, education, environment, health, human rights, human services, philanthropy, public affairs, religion, science, social sciences, sports and recreation, and then of course, unknown or not classified. So you have quite a bit of options here. And Candid likes to think that this subject area has an overarching scope of work. So once you click this, it'll narrow down a lot of the grants that are out there for something specifically that you want. So for this purpose, I'm going to click on education, because why not, right? Geographic focus. So this is asking where the funding will be used. So if you are locally here in Ogden, of course, I would select Ogden, sorry. If you are in Salt Lake, if you are more in Morgan County, Weber County, Davis County, anywhere, this is where you're going to want to put your geographic focus. So for this training, let's just Ogden. So let's go ahead and select Ogden. Population served. You have a variety of age groups, ethnic and racial groups, family relationships, gender and sexual identity, health, religious groups, social and economic status, XYZ. You will have quite a bit of options. But for this one, we're going to choose social and economic status. And for your organization name, if you are selecting let's say that you have a specific grant maker in mind, then you can definitely put it in here, but I'm going to leave it blank just because I want it to populate a lot more, and that way I can see you just for the purpose of this training, and you can see the amount of information that's going to list you. Location, again, if you want to be a little bit more specific, please go ahead and do that. I just leave it alone. I really don't mess with those down here, just because it narrows down a lot of your, it doesn't give you that much, let's say, what's the word I'm trying to look for here? It doesn't give you a lot of options. There you go.
Frederick,
yes.
we have a question in the chat.
Oh, yes. Let's see. It
says immigration field. Do you think it would be in unclassified or human rights category?
Oh, that's a great question. I could almost bet that it would be under the human rights category. And and if we can't, and that's a great question. Let me look into it and see if I can give you an answer for that, because I don't think I've ever researched on that one. And I mean, I'm thinking that it would be human rights, but I could be wrong. So, but actually, let's just table that one for towards the end and see if I can navigate it.
Thank you.
Yes. So I'm going to click search, right? So at this point, I have my education as my subject area. I have the geographic focus as Ogden, and I have my population served as social and economic status. Here, this is your support strategy. You have a transaction type, you have an organization type. I would leave that alone again, just because you might narrow down a lot where you would only see maybe 1 or 2 grants as opposed to 30 or more grants. So just leave that alone. You can kind of, when you're doing your research, you can kind of read the RFP and kind of see if that aligns with your organization or not. But here you can see that you can also select the grant amount that you want. Do you want a grant that is anywhere between let's say $0 to $10 million, or do you want to narrow it down even more, less than that? Maybe let's say you want to do 200,000 and less, then you would kind of navigate this one here. It's very sensitive, so you're going to have to be very careful when you're scrolling it, because if you can see here as I'm doing it, it's so large, the amount is so large that I'm even having trouble pinpointing 200,000. So again, I would just leave that alone, just so that you can get a lot more options. But here, so what Candid is doing is it's narrowing down a lot of the location and your focus. So it'll give you 39 grant makers, if you can see here, that's shaded in blue. It'll give you here 75 grants that are available just here in Ogden, and then 28 recipients. And then of course, I'll briefly explain it a little bit about the 990 tax forms. But it gives you quite a bit of information, quite a bit of grants to search through. If you want to look at just one particular one, it gives you the option to say view grant makers only, or view grants only, view recipients, or view just the 990. Just depends on what you're looking for. It narrows it down for you. And just for this purpose of this training, we're going to look at the grant makers here. So there are 39 grant makers. We have the Dr. W.C. Swanson Foundation, if you're familiar with that one. There is the George S. and Dolores Dore Eccles Foundation, if you're familiar with that foundation. Of course, we have United Way of Northern Utah, because if you didn't know, United Way of Northern Utah also has the community service grants, where they select community grants that align with the mission of United Way, and they give out those, I want to say annually, maybe wrong. And then of course, and then here you have tons of more results here. So you have pages and pages of just results here. But I want to take a look at one of those grant makers, and just for the purpose of this one, let's look at the George and Dolores Dore Eccles Foundation, just because that's kind of a very common one that's known all over Utah, especially here in Ogden. You probably see their name stamped on a lot of billboards or buildings and things like that, just because they have quite a bit of a large giving. So here, this is specifically George S. and Dolores Dore Eccles Foundation page. So here we can see their website. We can see where they're located, which is in Salt Lake City. And then down here, we have quite a bit more at a glance. And this page here, everything is at a glance. So if you want to search more or more in depth into it, you're going to have to click on some of these links. So here you can see what is being funded. Arts and culture is the top subject area that they are funding. They are also, and then the second top is education, human services, health. So you can see here, if you are a nonprofit that specializes in education, and then you can see that they are, if I scroll over to it, it says what is being funded, and it says they are giving X amount of dollars on regarding this area, right? This subject. And then you can see here, if you scroll down, it's what's that number? I'm terrible with numbers, so don't judge me. And I think it's like 23 million, I want to say. Yeah, that's about 23 million in
Pick up your
giving.
makeup that you spilled, and then I will put it on.
Sorry, well, I didn't quite catch that question.
After you pick up your makeup. Pick up your makeup. And
Lainey, can we ask you to mute, please?
Oh, not a question. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
not a question. Sorry, let me see if I can go into tutor.
Okay, no worries. Sorry, I click back on there. So, but yes, it gives you the at a glance here, right? So now let's move to now a little bit more particular on George, the George Foundation, and by state. So here you can even see how many number of grants they've given, the number of recipients, and the total amount funded. So if here it says Utah, this foundation has given more than 1,400 grants, and they've given more than $84 million in project funding. That's remarkable. That's high. So again, you can see a lot of this information at a glance. Click on it. It'll give you way more detail. And then here, depending on how much of the project that you are searching for. So for instance, if you have a project and it's to advance your early childhood education, and you need a certain amount of money to be funded, or a project to be funded, then this right here, this green section, lime section, is a great way for you to look at. For me, when we're thinking, oh, we're looking for something around the 5,000 to the 10,000 mark, then it gives you how many of those they've given out, right? Which is 254 grants that they've given out between $5,000 to $10,000. The largest grants that they typically give is anywhere between $10,000 to $25,000 grants, and so forth. And if you guys can see here, the very least amount is they've only given about 18 total grants that totals up to 1 million and more. So again, if you want to see more in detail, it says for you to click here. This is a great resource at a glance. I love seeing the graphics. It's very color coded. It's easy to navigate, easy to understand. That's why Candid is a great tool for you guys to kind of get that underneath your belt. So let's see. So here, so the grants. The most common grant amount is 50,000 that the foundation gives. It has a lot of the recipients, right? So here you can see, if you're scrolling and you are wondering who else they've given to, you can see that here they've given to Prevent Child Abuse, St. Annie's Center, Treehouse Children's Museum, so forth, right? So it gives you a lot of those recipients there, and you can click here to view all. The neat thing about the foundation is that it actually gives you a printout. You are able to print it out and then take it with you, export it in a PDF, email it to yourself. You know, the sky's the limit with the way you can manipulate some of this data And because you don't have to be sitting here for hours, because I know this might take hours for you to research something like this. And then again, the funding interests, this is just a very basic scope of what what typically they fund. Support strategies, which is annual campaigns. That's a pretty cool one. They fund capital campaigns, equipment. They fund cash grants. Their population is children and youth, also low income people. So again, you can see that it's these broad, generic categories that if you fit right in, this is your grant, right? So the more it takes a while for you to look into a foundation or a corporation or anything like that. It takes a while to navigate through some of these. So it's good for you to narrow it down, but also not too much, because then you're not going to have a lot of options. It gives you a lot about so the purpose and activities, the background, right? A little bit about them. And that way, when you are crafting your grant narrative, you can use some of this background information and put it into your narrative. The purpose, their mission, the program areas, right? So here, it's even more in depth. So now we can see that the foundation focuses on healthcare. They focus on preservation and conservation, arts and culture, as you guys could see that arts and culture was a top ranked one. So this is where they give most of their money to those nonprofits. It's the arts and culture. They do community grants, they do education grants. So you can see here that this is their specific 6 areas of focus. And if you fall under those, please apply, because there's a lot of untapped money out there that foundations, corporations, federal funders, and government funders are looking for, and it's just sitting there. So please, again, Candid, amazing tool, use it. If you have any questions, again, towards the end, we'll probably be able to cover those. If just drop your comments in there if you also have, as I'm going through. But the application RFP, that's a really big one, right? Your request for proposals, the RFP, in case you didn't know that one. This is their breakdown of what their application might entail. So here you can see that there's an application form required. The applicant should be submitting the following, right? So it kind of prepares you to gather all of this information, all of these documents, so that by the time that the deadline comes around, you are submitting it on time. So here they list out about 9 things that the applicant should be aware, which is any type of material that they are going to be asking inside the application, the current year budget or your project budget, the contact person, director's copy of the IRS determination letter, XYZ, right? All of these amazing things that they want to collect. And then if you look over here on this side, this is the current RFP, right? The grant opportunity. Notice here that it even gives you a deadline, right? It says, oh, this deadline is rolling, which means that there's really no specific date that they want you to submit it by. It's rolling. It's an ongoing deadline that you can either submit in January or in October, in June, May. Just your choice is yours, right? And then it's when was this posted, which it says there, June 28th, 2023, and so forth. It gives you the initial approach, which is the LOI, which is your letter of inquiry, and then the foundation's website, copies of proposal, XYZ. It gives you a lot of information that you typically won't find, or it's going to take you a lot of time to find. What the foundation, what the Candid does, it gives you everything at a glance that you need to know. And then, of course, the financials, right? For the fiscal, and it says here, this is for the fiscal year of 2022. It tells you how the total assets, the amount of assets that they have, and then the total giving that they do. So this is when I'm looking at a grant and I'm kind of mapping out how much of the time I want to spend on the grant or researching, is I look at their total giving. If I'm asking for $10,000, right? This is a project, an example. I'm looking for a $10,000 project, and they only have a total giving of maybe 50,000. It's going to be quite competitive, right? It's going to be not that I'm saying that none of these grants are competitive, because they really are, especially in this day and age in 2024. We've gotten the grants have gotten so much competition, but the total giving is not kind of balancing out. So if I see here that they are doing $31 million in total giving, then I would like to think that at least if my $10,000 would not seem quite a bit, so they might want to, fund me if I can give a good grant proposal, and I can show them the needs and how I'm going to measure and how I'm going to track all of the evidence and everything. But that's exactly what I do. And then over here, if you can see here, there's a 990 form. This is a drop-down menu. It has all of their 990 forms over the course of the 10 or plus years. So it goes 2001 is the latest. It's the one that the oldest 990 form. So again, if you want to see how they first, back in 2001, who they gave to, what their assets were, how they've built over the years, what they've done in the community, things like that, this is where you can find it. And then here, the staff, right? Like the main staff, if you're looking to see who is going to be your contact, who you can reach out, who are those points of contact, even here, it gives you officers, right? It gives you Lisa Eccles to be the president or the COO, the chairman and CEO, Spencer F. Eccles. We have the secretary treasurer, Robert Graham. And then we have other staff like the assistant to the president, Aaron Armstrong, the administrative assistant, which is Marguerite Montague, I think. Hopefully I didn't butcher that name. And then again, it has the grant manager, Tony, right? So this is someone that you might want to reach out to if you are thinking about having a project funded and you want to submit a grant. This is a good person to reach out to because they are the grants manager. The communication, and then it has a communication, right? This is a little bit more if you just want to kind of follow their social media, which is Instagram, Twitter. A lot of foundations nowadays have LinkedIn. They also have Facebook. So you can also follow them there, see what they're doing locally or just nationwide. It's pretty good information. And then of course it has their EIN number here, the location where they're located, the email for the CEO or the COO, and the foundation, right? And then so one thing too that I wanted to go over with you guys is the 990 form. So let's take a look at that one here. So I'm going to click 2021. I want to see what they've been up to in 2021. So I'm just going to click go there. And if you can see here, it gives you the option to download this 990 or just search through it. I usually use this little magnifying glass tool here to find a specific, let's say I am looking for, let's say that Candid did not show their website. If I type in www. It'll tell me, of course, one of two matches where I can find that very easily, which saves a lot of time having to scroll through the whole 990, right? And in 990, almost all nonprofits are required by the IRS to submit this. So it's supposed to already be here. I have seen some foundations not report that information. So if you are searching for a particular foundation and you don't see their 990, sometimes that's, I don't want to say it's quite common, but it does happen. where I've looked through some corporations, foundations, and they don't have a 990, which is okay. It's not a big deal. You can always find their information through their website. So here, again, it gives you even more information about the foundation. It gives you where they're located, their EIN number, of course, up there, their telephone number in case it was not presented over there. It gives you here their analysis of revenue and expenses. All of this is public knowledge, so it's out there for you guys to view. And we have the balance sheets, right? A lot of the foundations, they will ask you for a balance sheet. And this is something that if you're not familiar with it, this is what it looks like. Let me see if I can make this larger. Yes, I can. Okay, so here we have pages. It's about a 30 plus page 990, but I want to show you another particular one. Was on page 12 that I tend to look at too. I can't see the pages. Oh, sorry, I went too far. It's page 12. 12. Yes, right here. Okay, perfect. So here under the 990, this is another section that I really look at as well, is under the section of private operation foundations, the supplementary information. So this section here, if you can see, sorry, I'm trying to highlight it for you guys. Oh man. Okay, here. If you can see, it says information regarding contribution, grant, gift, loan, scholarship, etc. If you see a check mark here, it means that sorry, let me word it the right way. It means if you see a check mark there, that you are more likely unable to submit a grant request because it's only on a pre-selected basis. A lot of grants will do that. They will, and some of them are moving away from that because it leaves a lot of money a lot of money that is unused. But if you see a check mark here, that means that you have to reach out. You have to navigate through those networks to get invited to apply. A lot of these grants will say you have to have someone tell you, hey, they even give you a code or a password for you to enter in their application to give you access to the application. And here you can see that because there's no check mark, then anyone can submit. So this is again, I come here and I'm like, oh, well, let me look at their supplementary information and hope they don't have that checkbox selected. And then here again, it gives you a little bit of a breakdown again on the name, the address, the telephone number, any submission deadline that they have, which is a lot of the times here it says 4 weeks prior to quarterly meetings. So what some foundations do is that they'll have maybe every quarter, they will review an amount of a number of grants. And after that quarter, then they decide to push it forward and say, okay, this organization will get funded. This organization is maybe, will not get funded, and so forth. And that's how they do theirs. For the Eccles Foundation, what they do is that they, every quarter, every 4 weeks prior to quarter meetings, they make their selection. Any questions so far? I'm trying to get as much information out there to you guys right now because I only have about an hour with you guys. So I'm trying to speed through it as much as I can while giving you the main points. But yes, so this is the 990. And again, if your organization is looking more in depth about other information that it's not easily accessible out there, Candid does that, right? If you go in before Candid or before I was here in United Way of Northern Utah, I tried doing it and it would give me very limited amount of searches, right? So I was able to search two foundations before I was told that I needed to pay for my subscription, right? And United Way, they pay for the subscription. It is a tool free for all of you to come here and take part of that tool so that, of course, you can further that philanthropic culture and goals and missions. So let's navigate, right, let's go back to the Dolores Dora Eccles Foundation here. And again, this information here is so vast. It's great for you to just navigate and zero down your foundation, your corporation, federal funding here, right? So another thing that Candid also offers is resources, right? So let me go on to that section here. So if you can see here, this is where I'm going to click on resources. The foundation director is going to give you quite a bit of information on funding data, training, any Zoom trainings that are coming your way. This is where you can find that information about grants, grants 101. They have information on how to navigate even more in depth the foundation directory, more than what I'm giving you here. So it gives you a lot of tools that are very useful for you. Here, it's of course visiting the site for Candid, the philanthropy, the philanthropy news digest section, the social sector here. It's quite a bit. So I'm going to click here on Candid Learning, right? And here, this is where the live trainings and special events are happening. So if you can see here, there's one online webinar, Introduction to Foundation Directory, which is today, January 30th, 2024. There's also an introduction to proposal writing, right? To help you navigate those proposals, what should be on there, especially when a foundation is giving you the character limits. That's, oh man, like you have all these great things that you want to talk about, and then you're reduced to maybe 5,000 characters, or I've seen even some where you can only say 500 characters and that's it. And 500 characters is not a lot. Maybe it's about 2 to 3 sentences, depending on how wordy we are, or how straight to the point we can get. It's quite challenging. So this, I definitely recommend for you to come in here. It's happening on Thursday of this January of next month, which is what, on 2 days from now. And then the introduction to measuring your impact, right? So if I click on one, I'm going to click on the proposal for writing. So if I click here, it gives you the introduction outline of everything that's going to be covered there, training details, the Eastern Central Pacific time, how much this training will be free. I mean, again, that's a super cool, nifty tool that a lot of us could definitely take advantage of, is free workshops, free trainings, free Zoom, everything, right? That's awesome. At least it's a win in my book. Anytime that I have a free training at my disposal, I'm going to take advantage of it. And then it gives you, right? It's a 30-minute hands-on exercise, how to follow up, whether the answer is yes or no, XYZ, right? Like, even if you are told no, even if you're told that you're not funded, keep trying, right? Why not? And then you want to send them a letter saying, hey, thank you for the consideration. I appreciate you taking the time to look through my proposal. Let me know if you have any feedback. Most likely, the feedback, it's going to go 2 ways. They will give you feedback, or they might not give you feedback. They have so many applicants that it would be time consuming for them to give feedback to what a lot of these grants are 10 pages or more. So it's a lot of feedback that they would give, especially if they have over 50 applicants. It can give quite a lot. And if they do give you feedback, adopt that feedback, put it into the next one, and most likely you'll get funded by next time. It happens. We all go through those. I know it's a bummer a lot of the times when I see like, oh, you guys were not awarded, and it's like, oh, dang. Okay, well, what can we do better next time, right? Well, what are some of those things that I can maybe maybe their priorities changed. Let me go back in here into Candid and look that up. They have other
Frederick?
teams. Oh yes, go ahead.
We have two questions about subscriptions. They're asking if they have to have a specific subscription to access all of the information. And do you want to speak to that?
Yes, and I'll speak only a little bit to it because I don't know the entire backstory. So Abby, if you have anything, please feel free. So we have the Grant Center here, right, which is the Seda Hawes Grant Center here. So United Way is paying for that subscription, so it is free to all of our local nonprofits. The only thing is that it has to be accessed here at United Way. We cannot give you this, we can't kind of share that information. It has to be here. It's on you schedule yourself by emailing or signing up through just a list that says, hey, I'm going to sign up. I'm going to come in from this time to this time to check out Candid. But I tried signing up for Candid on a free kind of trial basis, and it gives you very limited information. It does not give you anywhere near as much information as Candid, the United Way tool that we have here. It doesn't give you all that information. I tried accessing it through Home when I first started here with United Way, and I was limited. Nothing compares to what you can do here at the Zeta Hawes Grant Center. Abby, do you have more that you want to share on that?
That's exactly right. We do have access to the full Candid platform. United Way pays that fee, and it's pretty hefty, in the thousands of dollars a year range. So you do have access to use Candid Learning on our site. And if you're interested in setting up an appointment, just send me an email and we can set you up with an appointment. I'll put my email in the chat in case you don't have it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Thank you, Abby. And I did have, Abby, I did have your email on here at the end. So in case you guys wanted to jot that down, but I still have a couple more minutes, so I want to take you a little bit more and navigate you through those things. That way you can, again, you cannot go wrong just by coming in, signing up for at least an hour and kind of playing with it, because again, Candid is it's user friendly, but it has so much information. You might want to, bring your notebook, jot some information down, send some things to your email, just depending on how Candid is and how it's going to download it as a PDF or an Excel worksheet, things like that. It's super cool. You will not go wrong just by coming in and checking it out. And then here, topics, even more, right? Fundraising, proposal writing, management, governance, starting a nonprofit, a lot of that, right? And I'm probably going to have Abby talk a little bit about the project blueprint, but it's how do you start a nonprofit? When I was taking the project blueprint, I have been working for nonprofits for a long time, but I never knew what it took to start a nonprofit. If I wanted to start a nonprofit tomorrow, what are all the components to start a nonprofit? Here you have it. Candid gives you a breakdown on that, but even more so, Project Blueprint, highly recommend it. It's a great way for you to get a lot of that information, to ask those questions, from those people that have already started a nonprofit, what they've gone through, their experiences, XYZ, right? Because a lot of the times we can't learn everything from a online training or a computer bot, right? The nonprofit transparency, strengthening your foundation. So again, has so many resources available for you. If you have questions while you're there, they also have this little chat box down here that maybe you are unfamiliar with what something is. You can just put your first name, last name, email, reason for this training, right? So maybe help me use the foundation directory. I need help with a claim or just some training, it's in there. They respond fairly quickly. When I was first navigating through Candid, it took me about 3 minutes for me to get a response. It's pretty cool. It's the turnaround time is within minutes. And you can start chatting there, and you can ask them any questions. They can answer anything for you. And then again, if you have any other questions, even more about this or about United Way and what it offers, we're here. I'm also available if you have any questions about anything like that, like grant proposal writing, submissions, things like that. And let's see, there was one more thing that I wanted to share with you. Newsletter. The newsletter, yes. So the newsletter, when you are here, or even today, right, when you get off of this training, Candid has a newsletter that they send out. Maybe, I want to say I receive newsletters from Candid quite frequently. I want to say every week, if not almost every three days. Sometimes it takes a while for me to get a newsletter, but it gives you even a breakdown of the trending grants that are out there. I wish I could access my email right now, but I'm not signed into it to show you how a newsletter looks. But yeah, it says Candid, it's from Candid, and it gives you about 3 to 5 grants that are around your area or are out there that kind of fits within the scope of your work, whether that's education, early child, anything like that, capital campaigns, things. It's more of a data at a glance that you can see. I would highly recommend for you to sign up for the Candid newsletter, the Candid learning, the resources. So it gives you a lot of information to your email. But again, if you want to access foundations, corporations, anything like that, Candid is your go-to. I will not, stop saying that, because it's pretty awesome. It's really nifty what everything it has to offer and how cool it is, how user-friendly it is, right? That's something that a lot of people want. Okay, enough of me. So now let's see if you guys have any questions about what I just reviewed with you all. And I'm sorry, I know I'm just kind of rushing, but I want to get as much information to you guys as I could.
Do we have any questions for Frederick that haven't already been answered?
And if you do, and if it's more of a personal question or more of a, hey, this is more of my organization question, feel free to reach out. My email is there. That's our United Way phone number. Please let me know, send me an email. I check my emails every day, and I'm constantly looking up grants, researching them, seeing different opportunities. If you want me to sit down with you, I can also help you out that way too. We can navigate more Candid, in depth, and be more specific and tailored to your organization or just a project that you have in mind. That's always really good. And then before I let you guys go, in case it's just circling your mind or anything like that, there are 5 writing tips that I would, if I could give out to someone or anyone. These are the top 5 that I've experienced over the course of my experience in writing grants, submitting grants, and looking for grants, right? Which is the first one is do your research. That's going to take the bulk of your time because you're researching about it, right? You're making sure if it's going to fit with your scope of work, their mission. Are you guys going to align? And you always want to look at it as a co-partner, right? You are partnering with this organization so that you guys can exchange that, that great work that you're doing. Number 2, understanding the grantor's priorities and geographics. Being very mindful of this one is a big one. A lot of grantors say, if it doesn't say that this grant is for a particular region, Salt Lake City, Ogden, or just Utah in general, I would not apply. I would not waste your time on that because they're very specific about their geographics and their priorities. So be mindful on that one. Building your logic model. I think without your logic model, you have nowhere to begin, right? And if you have questions about logic models, I'm here. Feel free to reach out for those. I have great examples of what they could look like, what they should look like. And then building your proposed budget, again, a big one. You want to have your proposed budget ready before you even start your grant proposal, because at that point you're going to be going back and forth trying to switch out your amended budget, or maybe you thought you were going to hire someone for this amount, but now it's changed. Now you have to go back into the grant proposal to change it. And then, maybe you forget. I mean, we're human, right? We have to leave. We have human error. So sometimes those can make or break your deal. And then, of course, you're writing the proposal. Having a second pair of eyes never hurts. I know that for me, I try to give it to another person to review it and kind of read it out loud to see if it makes sense, and have all that information there. And maybe if something's not clearly defined, letting me know, hey, this is a little bit muddy, maybe rephrase it again, right? Those are really good tips. At least these are my grant writing tips, and that I've learned over the years with both getting grants and not getting grants, because it's always not a 100% deal. That even if you write the most beautiful, perfect grant, if the needs are not there, sometimes it's one of those situations, right? Getting the measurements and tips, things like that. Anyway, well, if there are no questions, again, I'll give you our contact information if you want to sign up for the Zeta Halls Grant Center Candid, so that you can access a lot of that information and start your research, start your funding projects. Email Abby Abby at Monroe UWNU.org to sign up. And then if you have any questions for me, that's my contact information. Emails work best. So yeah, other than that, thank you all for joining our Candid training. I hope that you at least learned one thing. And let me know if that can be of further assistance to any of you.
Frederick, thank you so much. We appreciate your time and energy and all the knowledge about Candid. To the nonprofits that are on this call, I'm sure that was overwhelming if you haven't used this system before. But like Frederick said, he's here, I'm here. There's all those training tools available to you. So please reach out and let us know if you have interest in signing up to utilize the service. I also had a question behind the scenes about all of those trainings that Candid offers. And I think what we'll do, because you do have to have the advanced membership to that, I can start utilizing these trainings through the Nonprofit Connection Center, and we can do something like a watch party. So be watching your calendars for those upcoming trainings. And in the meantime, if you have any questions, please reach out. I will be sending a follow-up email to this with our email addresses again. I'll send the recording of this training and the link to that newsletter that Frederick talked about. So I hope everyone has a fantastic day. Thank you again for joining us, and we will talk to you soon.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Abby. Thanks, Frederick.
For sure. My pleasure.